I never could figure out really how to do it. Being on camera, so I'm like, you know what? Playing zombies. And my life story. I have another YouTube page, and I think no, it's on this one. I wanted to start telling about my life story, and you know, I'm a 48. I'm 48 years old, and I I just been I don't know. I had a rough life. Now I forget where I was at. I've tried starting platforms to tell my story. Um, Now I'm not telling my story to get sympathy. I'm not telling my story to, you know, I'm just telling my story because I just I just want it out there. You know, like everybody goes through things in life, and everybody deals with, you know, what they've gone through differently. And I mean, I've tried a lot of ways just to try stuff different. Um, but it's kind of hard whenever your life starts off being traumatized. And when I say traumatized, I mean, you know, growing up having that feeling of like hopelessness, not feeling wanted, not feeling loved. Um, I was born Bob and Anita Slater from New York. I was born in New York. Uh, I was a middle child, and during the time I lived up in New York, um, we were with I was with my real parents, and I can't really. I'm not gonna go into detail of the extent of what happened. I, I'm gonna give brief summaries because I could go on and on and on. But when I was, from the time I can remember, um, I grew up with Bob and Anita, and it was hell. You you're an innocent child. You know, like you look to your parents as like for help and like you're a kid, you know. But I never had that. I had I've always had or I've always felt like I was the problem. And the reason I say that is because for 6 years I was molested, and it was from my dad. It was from Bob. I'm not gonna call him mom and dad. They were not my mom and dad. I was molested from Bob, and the extent I will not go in. How many times a day I will not go in. But let's just say it was bad. Now, you're a kid and you're getting molested by him, but then you're seeing him also rape your mom, beat your mom, force her to do sexual stuff to you, so you get the understanding that what he's doing isn't right, but yet he still does it. Well, I remember like the memories that you have, you just don't get rid of. Like that is something hard because you're an innocent kid and you have this stuff happening to you. And so, at the age of 6, we were finally taken off of them, me, my brother, and my sister. Now, at the age of 2, I had to learn responsibility because my sister's the oldest, I'm the middle, and my brother's the youngest. We're all a year apart. Well, my brother was coming to the age, and even though I was 2, I never wanted him to feel what I had gone through. So in a way, I became a protector. I learned to look out for everybody else except for myself. I care about everybody else except for myself. It was mainly my brother and my sister. I remember being locked in deep freezers out in the cold because I wouldn't stop crying. Like, there's so much I can go into on the first parents, but I'm not because when I got taken off of them, they put me in a foster home. They put us 3 in a foster home. We were in foster home for 3 years until finally these parents from Pennsylvania adopted us. Now, in our adoption paper, it stated that due to the severity of the trauma, that all 3 of us kids were to stay together. We weren't supposed to be split up. So we get adopted. I remember the ride home. I had my, the adopted parents' name are Dan and Diane Kraft, and they came up in a this a motorhome, which I thought was like the awesome thing. I was like, oh my god, a motorhome, you know. And the ride home was so exciting because you know you're leaving that behind and you're starting a new life. You know, you're like, this is a new life. Now,
Okay, idiots.
I
Time
was,
to play Find the
I was, I was 9 when we got
Geriatric
adopted,
Professor. You know, the one that isn't in the
and
helicopter.
like I remember the ride through the mountains and down the interstate, and we arrived at my grandparents' house. They had a farm. I was so excited because like they had horses, a big farm, and you know I was just excited. Well, um, I remember like the day we signed the papers on in the courthouse. I remember my my grandparents they gave they gave me a gold. Well, it was you know it was gold, it was a watch. They gave me a watch, and I was so excited. I was like you know happy because you know it was me, my brother and sister were together. You know we got adopted. We thought everything was gonna be okay. Well, for the first year, you know, it was okay. Now, I'm gonna be jumping around a lot. I do, but living in a trailer with no food, you know, I'm being molested, stuff like that. To you know, we get adopted. We're in a house. There's food there. You know, like we didn't know. Basically, it was like you know, we didn't know how to act. And
Obscurus Altilium is the name of the amulet you seek.
and you know, we I would like as kids like I'm gonna just say me because I don't want to be like when I say me I'm saying my brother and sister too unless I say specifically otherwise. Like you know like I would eat. I overate. We all did because we didn't know when the like we didn't know when the next time we would eat because we were so used to it. Well,
The former employer paid legit
the
made the syndicate a small fortune to fight.
the after, when we turned 10, you know, we ate too much, so we were given a cupboard. You know, it was a little cupboard, a little coffee cup cupboard, and that's the only thing we had to eat out of. We couldn't eat out of nothing else. And well, this is when I started. This is when the beating started. Because I would make something for us kids, like me and my brother and sister, to eat, and I wasn't allowed to. So, like we could beat, and like I was the one that got like majority of the beatings. Um, and they were not like the you know the stuff that happens like now. And I like this is what needs a big like this is what needs attention is and this is why it needs attention. Well, whenever we were adopted, you know, we weren't you have to understand, we come, like, the severity of the trauma that we were in, they figured they would put us in, like, some kind of therapy or counseling, like, follow up and stuff like that. But there was none of that. They put us right in school, and like we get made fun of because we were adopted and we were different and stuff like that. So like I could take it because like I didn't care what people said about me, but with my brother and sister, I was very defensive because that's my only family that I have. Like when I say, well, I had, when I say
Not sure what to
I
make of
grew up
this.
without a family, I did. I grew up without a family. Like, when I was 10 and the beating started, I mean, like, they would make homemade paddles, or, like, they would use like a leather belt with metal braiding on it. Like anything they get a hold of, they would use. And the beatings were so bad that I couldn't sit down. And most of the time, I was getting hit on my lower back because Dan and Diane were taller than us. And whenever they held my hand up, and the way they would swing the paddle, it just landed. Wherever it landed. I'd go to school with black and blue marks. I think it was turned in. Nothing ever happened. First time I ever ran away because I got beat. The first time I ever got beat, I ran away. I got sent to, I don't think it's there anymore, but I got sent to a place called WPAC, which is Western Pennsylvania Adolescent Center. And I spent a year there. Now, you talk about like how someone builds himself, like how someone with mental problems builds herself. Well, I'm gonna just give my story and then explain why I built myself this way. So I went to placement, and I was there for a year.
Word that comes to
When I
mind
got
is-
out,
Huh?
they put me back with Dan and Diane,
Consider that your burn notice.
and it was like every time I went home, it was, always the same thing. It was always eating, So, or was I getting into a fight at school, having to play my brother or sister get picked on. And so, like if I got detention, and some of the time, like they wouldn't use a paddle. They would just use their fists. And like I have text messages. I've confronted Dan and Diane about this stuff and asked them why they did it and stuff like that. You'd be surprised at the answer I've gotten. But when what was it? When I got out, that's what I. Okay, when I got out, I went in when I was 10, and I got out when I was 11. 11 and a half, somewhere around there. And then forget what I
Guns
did,
for me.
but I ended up getting beat again. Oh, that's what it was. I was eating out of the garbage. That's what happened.
Look how it
I was
reacts.
eating out of the
It
garbage,
could be
and
related
like
to
they
the
had the
obscurus
pictures,
arterium.
but like I was eating dog food because like if you missed eating dinner and you didn't get to eat, if you were not at the table for dinner, then you did not get to eat the rest of the day. Like, so there's times like when I was this age, I was 11. I I got into a fight with kids, these boys at school because like they were picking on my brother. My brother was like, "If you don't stop, my brother's gonna kick your ass." But sorry for the language. My brother's gonna kick your butt. Well, I didn't know nothing about that, and all of a sudden I'm like, "Hey," and they're like, "Hey, you're supposed to fight in the giant bathroom." And I'm like, "What?" Like, yeah. So anyways, long story short, I'm not gonna like try to draw sort of stuff out. But long story short, I had to walk home from detention one day, and when I got there, Diane was there, and I as soon as I walked through the door, she grabbed me up. She started, "You want to get in trouble? You want to fight people?" And I remember the house, and I remember like it's just bad memories of this house. But I would after the beating, I would have to stand in the corner for
Was it a rave? Very long.
for an hour, holding 4 encyclopedia books, 2 in each hand, the thickest ones that were made back then.
The dark nature of that talent proves
I'd
Guy de
stand in the
Saint-Michel was
corner
more
for
obsessed with
an hour,
power than anything.
holding 2 of those in my hand, plus a cup of water on top of that. And if I dropped it, because it happened before, if I dropped it, I would get another beating, and then I would have to stand there until my hour was up. Well, this particular time, I had taken the first beating, and I was so weak, like I was trying my hardest to hold those encyclopedias up, but I was so weak that I ended up dropping them, and oh boy, Diane snatched me up and just started wailing on me. So I put my arms up like in a defensive mode.
Well done. It has
Protect
returned
myself.
to its former glory.
Well, when I was trying to walk, like I was up against the wall trying to get away from her, and I brushed her. I just brushed her. Like I just brushed right up against her, and she told Dan that I hit her. Now, Dan,
Go ahead, no problem.
Dan worked the arm code, and he was working 311 shift at this time. But when he got home, I'm laying in bed and I hear him. I'm like,
I
"Man,
think you're done
go,
for the day."
just run, like get out of here." And I didn't. And when he got home, he pulled me out of bed, hit me to the ground, and started hitting me like a grown man. It was like, "You want to hit a woman? You think you can hit a woman?" And I just remember looking up in his eyes, and it was like, all I seen was anger. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, like, man, like, all I ever wanted was loved and feel wanted. But it's just been all anger. Well, when, after that beating, I wouldn't stop crying. So that irritated me. So he beat me again until I stopped crying. And that day is when I lost just all emotion. I came detached from myself. Well, I ended up getting sent away because I ran away again. I ended up getting sent away again. It was only for 6 months. It was at some detention out Griffin Well, when I got out, I had 1 year from the time I was adopted. I had 1 year where I didn't get beat, and the only reason that was because I had broken my leg. So I was in a full body cast. I was in a traction. They had to pull, like, back in the day when they actually had to pull your bones back. And I was in that for 6 months. And then I was in a full body cast. The other 6 months.
It just happened.
Now, when I got out of that, I'd gotten in trouble in school because, I was considered the class clown. They put a box around my chest. They put a box around my desk. I was like a nuisance. I didn't know how to act. But and there we go back to the thing. This is what makes you feel like you're the problem. Because you didn't do anything to get you're getting censored. And then this is where my trust issues come in because, like, I'm telling people, like, hey, this is happening. I just keep on getting run away. So, after my broken leg, after I was healed, I ended up running away again. And by this time, I am 13. And I'm thinking I might, like, wondering what you did, like, what you did to make us mad, or, what you did, because you're just trying to figure out, like, why you're getting beat, like, well, needless to say, after all that was over, they put me in it was another all boys school. I don't know if it was Preston. No, it might have been Preston Ridge. I think I was in Preston Ridge, which is a wilderness camp school down in Ohio, pal. But I was there. They sent me there for a year because of I was running away. They didn't know what to do, so they sent me away. That'll fix the problem. Well, I like I said, I was down there for a year, and then when I got out, I'm still in CYS. Well, they put me in a place called Iron Stacy's because they were like, well, you're not like working out in the schools. Maybe you need more one-on-one. Because I've been in learn like LED classes, SED classes. I was in special ed, you could call them classes. My highest grade is fourth grade. I never completed anything else. And when I got out this time, they put me in Iron Stacy's, and they put me in Iron Stacy's, and it was okay. Like I was in school, and then I think it was like 2 months into it, they gave me a counselor. It was a lady counselor, and I sat down, and she just talked to me like a normal person. And I started, like we just talked, and then slowly I would start opening up to her. Well, she was pregnant, so she had to take maternity leave. And they gave me this guy named Chris Duncan. Now, I didn't know I was giving him until I walked in the office, and then he looks at me and he's like, Denton, I know you know what happened to you when you were a kid. We're going to sit here and talk about it. And I froze up because I was just starting getting comfortable with somebody. And then I had this guy coming in, like, wanting me to talk about, like, just not even, just want me to talk about it. Now you have to understand, I have a lot of caution around guys because you figure it was guys that did what they did. So I went back to class. I remember I asked if I could go to the bathroom and I ran away. Well, when they found me, they were like, "Oh, well, maybe you needed a big brother." So this is where the Big Brother program comes in. They put me with this guy named Jack Andre. Now, this is back in '89, okay? They put me with him. He was a Butler Township co-op, and he was a big brother. Well, my first night there, I go into bed, I'm going to the bedroom, I'm going to sleep, and then at some point during the night, I wake up to him molesting me. I wake up to the smell of stale cigarette breath, the heavy breathing, and I just freeze. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? Well, then, when he would try to touch me somewhere, or when he tried to do something, I would move, but still pretend I'm sleeping. I would move. Because I was like, well, it'll go away, it'll go away. Well, I don't know how long that happened or how many minutes it was. I was only 13, but the only thing I knew is he left the room, and I jumped out the window and I ran away. Now, when they caught me, um, I had told them what happened, And yet, they still didn't believe me. They're like, "You're a problem child. There's no way he could have done that. He's a big brother. He's an outstanding citizen. He's a cop." So they sent me to this hospital. It no longer exists, but they sent me to this hospital called Monsoor Hospital.
That's Charlie. You're welcome.
And when I went there, I went there for it was called a mental health evaluation. So I spent 6 months there. When I got out, they put me right back with Dan and Diane. I remember, like I've been saying for how many years, like, hey, I'm getting beat. Like this is happening. They didn't care. When I told them about the molestation, they didn't care. What they did, they put me right back with him when I got out with Jack on. They put me right back with him. Well, he had a farm, somewhat of a farm. He had wild deer, foxes, peacock. He had, I mainly remember the deer, the peacock, and the foxes. But he had other stuff. He had other animals, but I just remember that. I thought they were just so neat. Well, when I went back the second time to Jack's house, I stayed up because I went there Friday, so I stayed up Friday all day, and then Saturday I stayed up. Well, when I was in the bedroom, I'm like, I was finding something to block the door with. And I moved, I'm a kid. I'm like, well, I'll put this chair here, and that'll hold me. Well, guess what? It didn't. And then he punched me again. And again, I woke up to his breathing, the smell of like the smell of like a French cigarette being smoked. And then I can remember he had a mustache. He only had a mustache. He didn't have a beard, he had a mustache. And I just laid there, and I did what I did the first time. I laid there, and I'm like praying, like, God, let the sand, God, let the sand. Well, whenever I started moving around, so he couldn't like touch me or like try to do anything to me. He eventually left. I went away again.
Cabeza, you actually look better.
So when I ran away, when they called me, I told them what happened. And they're like, no, you're just doing it for attention. And I'm like, I'm not doing it for attention. Like, I'm telling you. Well, this is how much faith I have in the system. And this is why I get the way I am. Because you have a kid coming to someone who's supposed to be for you, supposed to be protect and serve. I don't care if you're a CYS worker or what. Like, you're there to protect and serve. Well, when the beatings were going on, I told them about it. Well, they weren't protecting and serving. Well, then, when I went to WPAC in Hermitage, after that, I was here for a year. Yeah. And during this time, I had a guy named Lon Oshling tell me, hey, if you sign your mansion papers, you won't have to put up with the beatings anymore. Now, I didn't know what a mansion pace was. The only thing I heard is I can get away from these beatings. Well, needless to say, I was there for a year. When I got out, like nothing changed. You know, and what's sad is like, they were away with everything because of my grandparents. My grandfather was a well farmer over in Prospect, PA. He was well known. They had a butcher shop. They had a lot of things going for them. Well, a lot of stuff would be covered up just for that mere fact. But there's nothing you can prove, even though you know it's real. You know, I'll get it back. Let's see, with Deanna Diane, um, I was locked in a chicken coop. I was beat severely. Um, I was I was forced to eat dog food out of a dog bowl with the dog leash on, being that I got caught eating dog food. So like, oh, well, you want to eat dog food? Get down there like a dog. Um, I was locked in a chicken coop. I was also I'm gonna stop my stream because I can't play and try to talk at the same time. So I'm gonna stop this, but I'm still gonna talk. So like I said, at the age of 13, um, 13, 14. No, I'm sorry. I got out when I was 13 from the one placement, and then I was out for like not even a month or two, and then I'm getting sent away to WPAC in Hermitage, and that was my last placement. That's when I was told, well, if you sign this paper, you can get away from these beatings. Well, I don't know what emancipation means. The only thing I heard was if you sign these, you won't get beat anymore. So I did. Um, I can remember. I still I like. What's sad is I looked at the map because their house was up for sale, and the cabinet was still there. I remember this one Sunday. We they went to church. We didn't have Sunday school, so they left us home, and I made pancakes. Well, the big chocolate chip, like melting chocolate chip things, they they were in this old pantry cupboard, right? Like recipes and I mean, like your cooking supply, like your baking supplies, your candy made, like your it was in this cupboard. Well, when they found out, Dan took my hand, and if you're looking at the cupboard on the left hand side, there is a flour shaker or I don't know, but it pulled out. It had like a filter on the bottom. You put your and you shake it out. But he he opened that door up and said, "You want to eat out of this cupboard?" And he slammed my hand in there. I don't know how many times I ended up with broke fingers. But yet when I said about it, it was said that I fell out of a tree or I fell down the stairs. Now this so far is 6 plus 5. No, 6 plus 3 plus 5 is 8 years, and plus like the stuff that just happens daily. It just continues to happen. This trauma. Well, I can remember when I was 16. You know, Diane dropped me off at the bus station there in Butler. I was at the Butler Trader Horn there on Route 8 there, and she had a, a gray Pontiac 6000 SE, and I remember I had a bag, and I was given $100 to start my life off with. I got dropped off and was told to have a good life. So you have to understand, I have out of the uh, well, I got adopted when I was 9, and I was on the streets at the age of 16. Beating started at 10, but technically, if you go from the age of 9 to the age of 16, I had 5 years of being locked up. Out of 7 years I was with them, I had 5 years of being locked up. Well, then, I get out, try to do good, try to, do whatever. Being on probation, go back and get in trouble, whatnot. Now, the main reason I'm telling this story is because I want people to know that there's other people out there that have gone through or that are going through certain situations. And I just want to let you know, don't ever give up. Like, I know how easy it is, trust me. Oh, trust me. But I can give you why I never gave up. And the reason is because I would always tell myself there will always be a better day tomorrow. And throughout this time, you yourself are building yourself a certain way. You can't trust anybody. Like noises and just everything. Like it's a trigger for you. And I fought never I never wanted anybody to ever feel the emptiness that I felt. the loneliness that I felt, the sadness that I felt, just like not being wanted, just everything. Because I know how it feels. I know how it feels to be left alone. I know how it feels not to be heard. And I also know how it feels to still have trauma going on. Now, don't get me wrong, from the age of 16 to the age of 30, yeah, I did stuff that was wrong. Um, I I didn't know the right from wrongs, basically. I didn't know, you know, it's raining out or it's snowing out. So I'm like, well, try the door. If it's open, I went in there to sleep. Well, that got me to where I went from being locked up as a juvenile to where I got locked up as an adult. So I'm 16 going on 17, sitting in the Butler County Jail, all because I needed a place to sleep. Or it was, like I was hungry, or I needed to change of clothes. I didn't have a job. I didn't know how to work. I didn't know how to take care of myself. Well, long story short, from the age of 16 to the age of 30, I had from the age of 10 to the age of 16, I had 5 years of institution. WPAC in Butler, the detention center I was in for 60 days. The Let me make sure. The mental ward was 60 days. 90 days. So that's one. I was WPAC in Butler and WPAC in Hermitage for 2 years, 1 year each. So that's two. Two. The detention center and the mental ward. That's 9 months there. And then I had W, I mean Presty Ridge down in Ohio. I was there for a year. So you go from being molested to being beat and then being sent away because you're getting beat. Well, I'm not proud of my life. I'm not proud of the stuff I've done. But what's sad is it was never looked into. Like, well, what's really going on with this guy? You know, like what? Your dad is supposed to teach you how to shave. I had to have a chief, because we called them chiefs down in Preston Ridge. I had to have a chief show me how to shave. Like, I, there is no, like, I don't care about myself. I care about everybody else because I don't want to see them hurt. I don't want to see them in pain. I don't want to see them suffer. I I've gone through phases in life of survival mode, um, and in the early phase, you build yourself, not being locked up, you build yourself. If you show you're weak, they are going to take advantage of that. So you had to be strong. So that's why that's how I built myself. Like I had to be strong. But the sad part is, I should never had to be strong. Like there should be no reason that I kept on getting put in a home where I kept on getting beat. But thanks to the government for that. Then what's sad is the guards in Butler County Prison actually raised me from the time I was 16, and then like my last case was when I was 24, and that was some bull crap. But I did 6 years and I got out when I was 30. So I'm not going a lot into like a lot of details because this could be a very long story. So I'm kind of like going from like childhood trauma to, I mean, like real parent trauma to like just all the trauma that I've been through. Well, like I was talking about, when you're sitting in the bedroom that you're in or the cell that you're in, you have nothing but time to think. And you're like, is it really me? Like, am I the problem? Well, huh. They kept me away from my brother and sister, I tell you that. But for what they did, they still gave them no excuse for anything. And the sad part is, I've been fighting for, I don't know, to press charges on Jack Andre. I know there's a 3 year statute of limitation, but oh yeah, sorry, I was just sitting thinking for a minute. No, like I said, when I got out when I was 30, I left that life behind me. I wasn't a criminal. I'm not a criminal. I was simply just, it was a place to stay. Because I didn't have nobody. I didn't have anybody to turn to. I didn't have any help from anybody. Well, then, I want to talk more on feelings. Because even though I would never try to harm myself, you never know when a person is just so wore out and just drained, and it doesn't get any better. It just keeps getting worse. So it's like you just want to give up. And I reached that point. Like I reached that point to where I'm just tired of everything happening and nothing being done about it. I mean, I was molested for 6 years from my real parents. They got 6 months into jail. Bob did for that. 6 months. And it was, I mean, the one day I can remember, it was 13 times that I was molested in one day. And then, whenever the adoption family came along, they never got, nothing ever happened to them. So that anger builds up inside of you. But you're fighting a battle because you want to flip out. You want to just not care. But in your heart and in your mind, you know that you would never do it because it was done to you, and that would make, I'm just saying for me, that would make me feel like I was no better than my adopted parents, no better than my real parents. And to me, I feel if I did something to myself that the state won, that the government won. I crashed under pressure and I couldn't take it anymore and I gave up. That is why I fight every day to not be like those parents. My grandfather, uh, my grandma and grandpa, I will call them grandma and grandpa because they didn't know what was going on. And then whenever I was over there, I never talked about it because, like I never, like nobody ever listened to me. So it was like, well, what's the sense of talking about it if nobody's gonna listen? But I remember, I'd go over there and like bale hay, and I would go over there and butcher deer and butcher cow, and like I would always help my grandfather whenever he needed it. Well, without therapy, and I don't, I don't, I'm still on this up and up about therapy because I sit here and I'm like, how can you sit here and understand how I'm feeling, understand what I'm saying, if you don't know or if you've never been through a situation like that? And it wasn't like it was just happened once. No, it happened over and over and over and over. The only time I ever got away from everything is when I was in placement. That's the only time I ever got away. Now, when I was like, I was with this one one lady, and we met. It's funny how we met. We met at well, I worked at Hills as a cashier, and she worked upstairs in the upstairs office. And I was handing my drawer in, and she come by and grabbed my butt, and that's how we met. Well, with my issues, I'm always afraid of people leaving me. I'm just so used to people just not sticking around, just you know, not caring. So I'm always cautious. I was always cautious. I'd never let anybody get close. But the whole time she was with me, she kept on telling me, "Dan, I'm here for you." She never left. I did a lot of things that I regret. I hurt her out of trying to protect myself. I hurt someone who was actually a person who was not out to hurt me. And I live with that regret. I live with it. I do. I like. I just wish I could go back and change, but I can't. But we met when we were young. We were like, 19, 20, 21 around there. And to this day, she's the only person. We might not talk, whatnot, but she's the only person that I know. If I needed to call, she would probably answer, probably. And my daughter too, Olivia. But I'm gonna go back to my homelessness. Now, being homeless, you do anything to fit in. You hang around the wrong crowds. You do stuff. Well, when I was, on my homelessness, I experimented with drugs. I did. It was the people I was hanging out with, and it was like, hey, want to do this? Okay, do this? Okay. But my whole issue was I don't. I never wanted anything to have control over my mind. I needed to be in control of my body because I never knew what was coming. So yeah, I have. I have tried drugs. Is there certain ones that if I was a drug addict, is there certain ones that I would lean to? Yes. But it's all mind over matter. Your mind is the strongest thing in your body. Hold on, I'll be right back. Um, like I was saying about the one lady that stuck beside me. You know, when it, when I meet somebody, I'm sorry I jump around a lot. Like I don't really know how to explain stuff because it's just like if I tell everything, you'd be like, no, it didn't happen. But let me just put it to you this way: every single day, I have that thought of whatever. It runs through my mind. I don't know how many times a day because I know that if I did that, oh my God, there'd be no more pain. There'd be no more memories. There'd be nothing. You'd be free. And I get told, well, you know, everything happens for a reason. You know, leave it in God's hands. And I sit there and I'm like, well, I mean, it was in His hands the whole time. Like, like I understand everybody goes through stuff, but as a child, like you go through it, and it's like, why, like, do I have a lot of hatred towards God? I wouldn't say it's hatred. I have a lot of I have a lot of like, is He there? I have a lot of disbelief. But then there are things that He has shown me that He is there, and that is why I'm still here today. Because I mean, I should have died 3 times. One, I what was I was hit by a tractor trailer. I was what the hell? Oh, I was I ended up rolling a car. I swerved to miss a deer and I rolled a car over a hillside with my service dog Honey, and I lived through that. And then I had an incident happen just recently, which I'm getting this out there. This is really upsetting. Um, I was driving driving to Greensburg to go to a mental hospital, a mental ward, and I didn't feel safe driving, so I parked and I was walking. Oh, I mean, I have paranoia, I have schizophrenia, I'm bipolar, I have PTSD, I have anxiety. I mean, I'm a wrecking ball. But if you were to meet me, you would never think anything ever happened to me because I'm the nicest person you could be. Well, I was walking down 30, and I, these cops. No, no, no. I'm sorry. Stop. It was too much traffic, so my paranoia got the best of me, and I thought I was being followed. It felt like I was being followed. I think that every time. I mean, anybody you can ask that knows me, I always think that I'm being followed. I always think someone's after me. Well, so I cut through a cornfield, and I come up on this road, and which led to another road. But I come up on this road, and I see a car coming down the road, So I'm like, hey, they're after me. I mean, I'm literally thinking someone's after me. Well, and then I continue walking down the road, and I'm asking, I'm talking to myself loud. I'm asking God, like, why? What God? What is your purpose? Like, why am I still here? Like I'm talking to God. I'm trying to like I don't. But I didn't do anything. And I kept on walking. Well, the guy calls, for a suspicious person. Because he says, quote unquote, that I had a T-shirt on, which I did, black sweatpants, no shoes, and I was walking and yelling as I was walking going down the street. Now he had called 911. I have the report. It was a non-emergency call. Um, it was a call of a suspicious person. Okay. Now here's where I have an issue, and I'm going to say it. I had a public defender, Mike Garfolio, the DA, Leo. I had a public defender. Now, I wasn't able to post bail until I had a mental health evaluation. Okay? So I had my mental health evaluation. Now, this just happened 2 years ago. I had my mental health evaluation and I bonded out. Well, when they put a motion in for my discovery because what happened that night should have never happened. I have the video and I was told, oh, you can't share it. I think it's kind of funny because the newspaper can write about it, but I can't share a video and be like, I didn't say nothing about it. All I did was I just share a video I wouldn't say anything. But we go back to my discovery. Now, when you get your discovery, if you committed everything that, like, from that night that happened, should have been in discovery. Okay, the guy called 911. The 911 call should have been in there. There's 3 cop cars that were on the scene. There should have been 3 cop car camera videos and audio. There's a doorbell camera. Instead of getting a 15-minute long doorbell camera video, which would have added up with the one cop that was, he was a corporal, that would add up with the one corporal that was there, it should have ran in timeline with him. But I get 3 cut up pieces of a doorbell camera video, right? And you can see it was recorded off of a computer monitor. Well, before I get too far, I'm gonna go back to what happened. I was walking, and I didn't know he called 911, and I'm walking. I was on this one road, and all of a sudden, this cop comes up beside me. He's like, "Hey, take your hands out of your pockets." I did. He's like, "What's your name?" I told him my name, Denton Craft. He's like, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to Greensburg Hospital because Latrobe Hospital doesn't have a mental health facility. Greensburg does." Kept walking a little bit further. Now I'm walking, he's driving. He's in a patrol car. SUV actually. And I keep walking and he asked me again. He's like, "Where are you going?" And I said again, "I'm going to the Greensburg Hospital because they have a mental ward. The Latrobe one doesn't." And he's like, "You're walking?" And I, I, I said I didn't know it was against the law to walk. Well, then when I asked if I was being detained, he's driving beside me, so I'm getting a little like, what's going on? When I asked if I was being detained, he said yes. Well, when he said yes, I'm looking at the road and I see trees on both sides, so I thought it was a wooded area. I'm like, well, and then through the trees I see a light. I'm like, okay, well, he leaves me, you know, I mean, he could have put his lights, he could have stopped, put his lights on, said, hey, you're being detained until they get here. If he felt I was a threat, but in the police report, I mean, in the 911 call, it was a non-emergency call, which means there was no threat whatsoever. Okay? Now, he left me, went up. He drove 414 feet. He went down the road we were on, made a right on this other road, went up however many feet, and made a U-turn. Now, the only reason I'm saying this is because in the video it shows this cop car facing downhill. Now, you have three cop cars there, and the place I was at was a circle, and there's a road that ran right through the middle. So, like I said, I'll come back to that. But I walk up to him. I'm still talking to him. Now, you told me I was being detained. Now, why would you leave me if I was being detained? Because I mean, if I committed a crime, I would have been out. I would have been like, "F this, I'm out of here." But no, I came up to you wondering what was going on. Well, the first cop on the scene stated that he encountered me on this road, standing in the middle of the road, yelling and screaming. Okay? Well, it's kind of funny. I was walking with my hands in my pockets, minding my own business when you encountered me. But what's funny about this is we're going to go back to the three cop cars. At this time, they didn't have body cameras beside ass. They only had dash cameras. So there should have been three dash cameras from that night. Well, they when I got my discovery, like I said, I'm jumping around a little bit. I only got one. Oh, I told you this. I got one dash car camera. So I'm sitting here, I'm fighting. I'm like, where's the other dash car camera? Where's this at? Because the other dash car camera would show you that I wasn't standing in the middle of the road yelling and screaming. I was walking, minding my own business. I was no threat to anybody. I was calm. Now that's one problem that I have is that cop car's dash car camera not there. Okay, because that would prove that he's lying in his report. And I'll get a little bit further into this, but now this is where it goes to show, like, it's trauma on trauma on trauma on trauma, and it goes to where when is enough when is enough, like when is it where you just had enough and it's just like, so, you can't take it anymore. You know, it keeps happening. I was 46 when this happened. Well, I'll get back to what happened that night. So I'm trying to make it a long story short, but I can't make long story short because I'm very explanatory about stuff. The long story short, 3 cops show up. We're standing there talking. Like we're talking whatnot. I don't remember what was said because I'm in a defensive mode. Like I don't know why you guys are talking to me. Like you said of a suspicious person, and I know I'm probably in the police report it states that I was questioning. I kept on asking questions. So, but like I'm pretty sure I was like you know what did I do? Like I'm sure I don't know. I don't have that video. Just like the cops, they don't have that video because they're saying that I refused commands. They're saying that I wasn't complying. Well, I was. If you had the video, you would hear it, but you don't have the video, so you have the cops' words, right? Right. So, make a long story short, we're sitting there talking. Whatever was said, and then I asked. I said, "Do you guys have body cameras?" They said no. I said, the one cop was like, "We have dash car cameras, and they're as long as those headlights are on, they're recording." Now it's kind of funny that you had 3 cop cars there with no whirlybirds on, because as soon as you activated that, it was recording the scene itself. So that's why they came in with no lights on. Now, when we're standing there talking, and I asked about that, they said no, and I said, well, then I said I felt threatened. I said I feel threatened. I mean, there's three of you and one of me. I don't have any weapons. You all are you're cops, and I'm asking what I did wrong, and I'm not getting any answers. So you're gonna tell me that you wouldn't feel threatened? Like you can't tell me what I did wrong, but yet you want my ID. Like why? I didn't do anything. I understand you were here for 911, but the 911 call was non-emergency, and it was just of a suspicious person who, let me remind you, was wearing no shoes. But this comes into the key. So, when I said I felt threatened, the corporal yells out, "He's methed up, I smell meth." And in the video, the cop car camera video, it's very dark. I've been trying to lighten it up and I don't know how to do it, but I will get it somehow. But it shows me taking 3 steps back, right? Now, bam, we go to the doorbell camera video. The doorbell camera shows me coming out with my hands up in the air, straight up in the air, walking towards the cops. None of them rushed in to put. None of them were in a hurry. Nothing. No. And then they came up behind me. It was a couple seconds, well, a minute, whatever. I don't know. But they came up was like, "If you don't want to provide us with your ID, that's fine. We're detaining you." Which I already had my hands up. I'm coming towards you guys. I knew you had already told me I was being detained previously, so that means I was not free to go. And your guys are here asking me questions. So I have a lot of feelings on this. My Miranda rights weren't read to me until the incident happened at 8:30 at night. Okay, and my Miranda rights weren't read to me until 10:02, I think, that night, 10:05 that night. Almost 2 hours later. And I'm just trying to figure stuff out here, right? So we go back to where he said, about the meth and that. So I come out with my hands up, and on this point too, November 14th or 16th, one of the two dates, November of 2022, I had my left rotator cuff surgery. I had surgery on my left rotator cuff. So this is it wasn't even like 2 months later this had happened because it happened in January 30th. Well, you know, in the video you can clearly see, the one cop walking front to back on my left side has my hand behind my back as the other corporal is bringing my arm down, and then you see me, you see me turn my head to ask why, and then all of a sudden you see my body jolt to the left, like my like I was I was turned, like I was turning, and then all of a sudden we're all going down to the ground. Now we're on a hillside, and there's only one officer who's unaccountable for it this time. That does not who who, who there's 3 cops, and 2 cops had my hands behind my back, and the other cop was in front of me coming up the hill. It was like a little slope. It was like a 20. It was a foot drop slope compared, because I was standing on top of the hill, and the one officer, I was a foot taller than him. So it was a foot drop. That gives you kind of an idea how the slope was. And I'm standing right on the edge, and I had my, they had my hands behind my back, and all of a sudden, you see me jolt to the left, and then go going down, like going forward. And they're trying to say that now come on, they're trying to say that I forcefully pulled away and tried to run. But yet, I mean, I walked up. First, let's go back to, I walked up to you after you told me I was being detained and left me. I came back. I walked up to you. So if I was gonna do anything, I would have done it then. But we're not gonna. I can't dwell on that because they don't have the video. Am I upset? Oh my God, yes I am. I cannot wait for this to be busted open. And these cops get in trouble for covering this up. Because not only was that video missing, but the cop car that was sitting in front of the corporal's cop car, he had his headlights on. His camera would have caught what he did, because it was his car. It would have caught, maybe he slipped coming up the hill, or something. If you look at my mugshot, you could tell that my left side of my shirt was pulled, like it stretched. But anyways, we all go to the ground, and the cop that was in front of me, that shouldn't even have his hands on me. The other 2 cops had my hands behind my back. This other cop should have never had his hands on me, I feel. I mean, I wasn't. I was agitated, but I was not in a threatening, agitated mode. Like I get defensive if I get accused of doing something if I didn't do it. Anybody does. Well, I mean, I get worked up a little bit more, but I'm not a threatening person. Well, anyways, the cop that was in front of me, whenever you see the video, he goes flying like he was shot out of a rocket. He forgot his Superman cape that day. But he went flying, I would say, anywhere from 6 to 8 feet. And then in the video, you see him get up and come in and just start punching me right in my head. He punched me 4 times. On the 3rd time, he broke his hand, hitting me in my head. And then he turns his hand around on his 4th time to hit me with the back of his hand and not his fist. Well then, after that, the corporal, I don't know what he was trying to do. He had his taser out, but I don't know what he was trying to do. And now, remind you, I'm on all 4s, okay? I mean, I'm on my hands and knees. And then, after I was punched, I don't think the corporal tasered me yet, but Then you see the other officer, which I'm going to get to him, what I said to him at the police station. But you have the other officer, and I'm going to say their names: Officer Matson, Officer Gordon, and Corporal Shears of the Greensburg, Pennsylvania State Police. You have Matson. You see him punching me as hard as he could, 10 times in the ribs. Right? And then as he's doing that, Shears, I call him broke hand, Shears had me in a chokehold. And then as Madsen got done punching me in my ribs, Shears, still in a chokehold, rolled me over on my back. And then that's where you see Corporal Eakins taser me. And the one time he tasered me, and then the second time, I don't remember doing this. I mean, I don't remember anything that happened. But in the video, you see, I pushed his hand away. I wasn't fighting with him. I was defending yourself. I mean, I just got punched in the head 4 times. I just punched in the head, ribs 10 times, and now I'm getting tasered. So, and the whole time you hear me saying on the ground, I didn't do anything. What laws did I break? I didn't do anything. Why are you doing this? Well, he tasered me 2 times. Corporal Eakins tasered me 2 times. One time was 1 second. He says, "Oh, it just slipped. You know, I didn't get a good drive stun is what they're called. Drive stun. The newspaper doesn't know what a drive stun is." Then you see him the second time, and in the video you can hear it. He laid on me for 5 seconds. Okay? And then he holsters his taser, and now by this time, well, I was in a chokehold from Brockhand Shears, and I had Officer Matson sitting on my leg and holding my left arm down, and my right arm was up in the air because Officer Brockhand Shears, when he had me in that chokehold, he had my right arm, like he had his arm underneath my right arm in the chokehold. So it was up in the air, and you can see Corporal Eakins literally trying to break my arm. I mean, he was putting all his weight, bending it the wrong way, putting all his weight on it. Okay? Now, let me remind you, I didn't have any charges. This is what I'm still trying to figure out. And maybe I'll talk about it. So, back to what happened. So then you see Shears fighting himself, trying to get up, like trying to get out. You know, like he was laying on his back on the pavement, and I was laying on my back facing on the grass. You know, and he was trying to get out, and he must not ate his Wheaties that day or something. But you see him struggling, and then when he gets out, you see him face plant me right into the pavement. He pushes my head right into the pavement. And then it must have been hurting or something, and I lifted my like I said, I don't remember this, but in the video you see me lift my head up, lift my head up because it was hurting, and he's sitting there he's trying his hardest, pushing it down, he choked me trying to push it down. And then the only time you hear these officers, or whoever, I don't know who said it, I think it was Eakins, Corporal Eakins, the only time you hear anything is in the video you'll see he like when he let go of my like when he got up and Eakins let go of my arm. Oh, when Brokan was trying to get up, he put his shoulder into my arm like into it, trying to break it again. Well then, well while it was still up in the ears, Eakins was holding it. Well then, you know, in the video you'll see my hand just fall down limp, my arm, and then, uh, like I said, for a good, I don't know, minute, I don't know what it was, but two officers had my arms, and not one of them were trying to put handcuffs on me. Well then, when Shears, I was choked. I have issues. It's not that I'm fighting; it's a natural reaction. I was choked when I was a kid. I was beat when I was a kid. So my natural reaction is try to defend myself, try to protect, not defend, protect myself. Because I know I can't fight back with the. If it was three regular guys, it would have been a different story. But I know I can't fight with these people because they're cops. So you, you see, you'll see Eakins put my arm behind, like kind of down on my right side behind my back. Well, then when I was being choked, I was trying to it was a natural reaction. I was trying to get the pressure off my neck, and he yells, "Give me your hand! Put your hand behind your back!" That's the only time that I heard. I didn't hear no stop resisting. Put your hands behind. I didn't hear none of that. The whole time, nothing. I mean, these cops were so worried about me that while we're standing there talking, Corporal Eakins had enough time to pick his ass 3 times, pull his wedgie out. You can see it in the video. I was that much of a threat. We're standing there talking for 2 minutes and 40 seconds. You pick your butt 3 times. Like three guys and me, and there's 2 guys that were bigger than me. I weighed 196 at the time. I'm 6'1". 3 of you who are trained officers who have guns, you have all this stuff, and you're fighting amongst yourselves to get handcuffs on me. I'm not even doing anything with y'all. You're fighting amongst yourselves. You're not even trying to put handcuffs on me. You're just beating me. Well, when he couldn't get my head down, you know, you see him have his hand on my face, on the side of my face, and he looks around, grabs his taser, and tasers me. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 6 times he tasered me. So altogether, I was tasered 8 times, right? For a suspicious person. Well then, we'll go. I'm gonna jump here for a minute. Now, the caller stated that I was a white male wearing a gray or white T-shirt, he had sweatpants on, no shoes, right? No shoes, yelling and screaming, right? So okay. I mean, I had a gray T-shirt on and I had black sweatpants on, but I had boots on. And in the video, when you can see, I mean, the whole time you can see like a couple different points, but mainly when I was being tasered on my heart for it seemed like over 10 seconds. Because you can see my legs straight, like you can see that I mean, you're electrocuting me. Come on. But you can see that I had boots on, right? So, I'm going to get back on this subject. I'm not going to jump. And then, He puts his taser away, and they're fighting to try to roll me over. And, well, apparently Matson must have forgot that he was sitting on my legs. You know, because they're, like, Corporal Eakins and Brockhand Shears was trying to, like, push me over to roll over. Well, then finally, they matched a move. They rolled me over on my side. Well, they rolled me on my left side on the ground, right side up. This is important because when I was getting punched in my ribs, I was getting punched on my right side. Okay? So we're laying there. I don't know what they were doing. I mean, I was laying there. I'm not fighting with them. I'm not doing nothing. And then you see Eakins put his weight right on my ribs. And then you see me flip over. Like, 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 my whole body, like, I was on my side and I flipped over and I was on my knees. No, I mean, yeah, you would have to see the video, but like, I flipped over and then they flipped me back over. Well, when they did, you see in the back, you see Matson and Shears holding me, right? As, I mean, oh, no, sorry, let's back up. I don't want to get names mixed up here. You see Eakins and Shears, Brockhand, Eakins and Shears holding me. And in the background, you can see Officer Matson punch me an additional 13 times. And during that process, now on my right side again, in the same spot he punched me, during the process, the last 6 punches, you can see Brockhand's Shear, his body move, Eakins' body move, and my body move. For how hard he was hitting me. Like, he was coming all the way back from his shoulder and coming with all his might. Haymakers. And the last punch he did, he broke 3 ribs. And I yelled out, "You just broke my effing ribs." And then that's when they got handcuffs on me. But during this, you see Eakins laugh. He had a smile as he was talking to Shears, Brockhand. He had a smile on his face, right? So finally they get the handcuffs on me, and I laid down the ground for over 9 minutes. Well, he went up and talked to the lady who had the doorbell camera, you know. But it's kind of funny, you know. You have the video of me. You don't have the video from the doorbell camera of us talking, the 2 minutes and 40-second talk we had before I came out with my hands up. But you have me coming out with my hands up, and then you have the officer walking up to the door, getting the information, and then the whole time he's walking up there, he has this little smirk on his face, this little smile. And the lady's like, "Oh yeah, he shouldn't have resisted." And his response, he is a pretty big guy. Well, anyways, that's that. I was all now back to the ground. Well, F the ground. Like, they end up putting me in the back of a cop car. We go to the police station. Now, the handcuffs were on so tight that my hand was swollen 3 times what it should have been. And nobody even got a picture of it. When I asked, nobody even took a picture. But then they put me in the back of this other cop. There was 4 cops all together on the scene. No, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess there was 5 cops on the scene. I don't know. But the 4th cop that showed up was the cop that took me to the police station. Okay? Now, I don't know nothing about Miranda rights. I mean, I must be dumb or something, but if you're arrested or if you're detained, or are they supposed to read your Miranda rights? I mean, you guys just had hands on with me. I'm in handcuffs, so that meets the criteria. But it's funny that my Miranda rights weren't read to me till 10:05, 10:02, whatever. But we get back to the station, and I'm sitting there, handcuffed and shackled to this metal bench, like this metal, like half bench. And the way the police station was set up, is there was like a opening to go in a room, it was a wide opening, an ascending wall, and then there was a big conference table in the middle. They had the phone on the right hand corner of that conference table, right? And there was a lady cop standing there, long brown hair, lady cop standing there. Well, the I'm gonna go to Matson. I didn't know who was involved. I didn't know who was there. And then Matson come over, was talking to me, and I looked down and I see mud on his pants. So I'm like, you might as well put that on my dry cleaning bill too, you know. And then I sat there and I looked at him. Now remind you, I had a cracked skull, 3 broken ribs, and I just gotten the crap beat out of me. I looked at him and I said, I said, I got respect for you because you had mud on your pants. I assumed you were there. I told him, I said, I have respect for you because out of everybody there, you didn't put your hands on me. And then here to find out that he's the one that punched me in my ribs 23 times and broke 3 ribs. And he's the one that had the initial contact, and he's the one that's lying about where he encountered me at. And then Shear's Shear's camera is kind of funny. It wasn't preserved, or they don't have it. Just like with the 911 call. Well, it's only preserved for 90 days or 60 days or something. And I'm like, well, it's an ongoing case. Why would they get rid of evidence? I mean, that's the reason they were there. Was because of that 911 call. So it would be kind of important to know what was said on that 911 call. But I had a public defender, Mike Garfolio. Like I said, he's a really good piece of work. Let me tell you. I have over 100 emails to this guy asking for the doorbell camera, asking for the 2 other cop cars. To top it off, while we're at the police station, I see this cop walk through this. Now, if you're looking where I was sitting at, if you're looking down the table, the cop came in from the left. At the end of the table, there's a door there. He come in from the left, and all I seen was he had his arm in a sling. And all I said was, that looks like it hurt. I mean, I'm muffled. I could barely breathe. I had 3 broken ribs. I could barely breathe. And I'm just sympathizing with the guy. Like, that looks like it hurt. And then he flips out with his arm in a cast. He flips out, starts coming towards me, and says, oh yeah, next time the outcome will be different. And then Corporal Eakins was standing right maybe a foot or 2 back from the archway of where the where the entrance to the room was. And he's like, stop right there, don't come any closer. Now, I told Mike this. Now, why isn't there a camera on that? Why wouldn't there? Those police barracks cameras are rolling all the time. So why wouldn't you? What I requested for, why wouldn't you request it? And then whenever the new attorney I have, which I don't trust anybody. I think they're all in this. This new attorney I have. Oh, back to Mike. When I got my discovery, he's like, hey, this is gonna be very disturbing to watch. And I was like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, Mike, I told you, I didn't do anything. Like I came out with my hands up, and I showed him how I had my hands up. And he's like, no. He's like, you had your hands up. And that's when he played the video. And he's like, I got your back. We'll go to trial. I got this, right? But then as it progresses, now these were my charges from that night: aggravated assault on an officer, public intoxication, resisting arrest, resisting arrest, and disorderly conduct engaging in fighting were my charges. Now, if that incident wouldn't have happened, I would like to know what charges I had. I had no charges. I had nothing. Because if I did, you would have charged me with it. But you charged me with aggravated assault on an officer because he broke his hand on my head. Public intoxication, you assumed. You assumed. Needless to say, the aggravated assault on an officer was dropped. The public drunkenness was dropped. Or public intoxication, whatever you want to call it, was dropped. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I have my medical marijuana card. But if you were to sit in a room and talk with me for about 10 minutes, you would think that I'm on something because of how high strung I am. And this is from the stuff that's happening in my past. This is from, I did state time, and you have to be on your guard at all times. You build yourself a certain way, and I can't help it when I talk. I talk hyper. Like I just because I'm nervous. Like I don't like talk. I stutter a lot. You know, but those are my charges. And then turn around and when I got this new attorney, oh, wait, back to Mike. We had a habeas corpus hearing. Now, I gave Mike what happened that night. When the cops asked me if I wanted to give him a statement, I told them, F you, I'm suing the F out of you. You just beat the F out of me for no reason. I said I was going to the mental ward. I wasn't bothering anybody. Well, where was I at on this? Police station. We had the incident with Shears. I have so much stuff going on in my head. But anyways, that's when I, I was at the police station, and then I'm sitting there and I'm like, my ribs hurt. Like I told him there was an ambulance on scene too. Scene, and they didn't even check me out. There's no report of it. Now, to me, I'm putting everything together, right? If you're charged, if some, especially excessive force, if there's a reason I had broke hand, I've said something about that, but it'll come back to me. But I mean, I don't know the laws, but I'm pretty sure that you're not allowed to get rid of stuff while there's a case going on. You're going to feel that it wasn't important? What do you mean it wasn't important? This car would prove that he didn't encounter me like he said in the police reports. He encountered me, either standing in the front yard or standing in the middle of the road, screaming and yelling. In the police reports, it was stated that Officer Shears, offered me a ride home. I never was given offer a ride home. Eakins, here's where we come back to the boots. Eakins, in his police report, stated, and I also observed that he didn't have shoes on. So, if you look at the video, I had shoes on. The caller stated that the person walking didn't have shoes on, this and that. Well, when you encountered me, you seen I have shoes on. I didn't match that description. I mean, you know what I'm saying? But under oath, you guys wrote these police reports out. Here. This is affidavit of probable cause. This is from Corporal Eakins. I was in a operating a fully marked Pennsylvania State Police Patrol vehicle at a property 2020. I was dispatched to a suspicious person at 700. Whatever. Troopers Jacob Shears and Gordon Matson arrived on scene first and canvassed the area. The caller stated that a white male wearing a t-shirt and sweatpants was standing in the street near his home yelling. Now, hold on. I thought it was stated that I was walking down the road yelling. But we'll get to that later. I arrived soon there while Trooper Matson announced over the radio that he found the defendant, later identified by Denton Kraft by his PA driver's license, in the front yard of whatever. The defendant matched the description given by the caller, and I did not see anyone else out walking in the neighborhood. Trooper Shears, Matson, and I attempted to speak with the defendant, but he appeared to be highly agitated. The temperature was approximately 33 degrees Fahrenheit, and it was snowing. Well, it was raining before, and it was snowing. I live in Pennsylvania, so if you've ever been in Pennsylvania and you know the weather, like, I was out in 15-degree weather in a t-shirt. I was out in -4-degree weather in a t-shirt. Doesn't mean I'm drugged. I don't like using bulky clothes because, one, it's a restriction. I feel like I'm being strangled. Anyways, the defendant did not appear to be cold, but he did appear to be agitated and under the influence of a controlled substance. We told the defendant why we were speaking with him, but he would not answer any questions or leave the front yard of blank, 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 blank. Shears requested the defendant produce identification because he was under official investigation for a suspicious investigation for suspicion of disorderly conduct. Now, you just said of a suspicious person. Now you're saying disorderly conduct here. Trooper Shears offered the defendant a ride to his home. Now, how could you just say you needed my license because I was under suspicion of disorderly conduct, but then turn around and offer me a ride home? But he also refused. The defendant would not stop yelling, which in the video you would clearly hear that I was not yelling, or move off the property when asked to. I don't remember being asked. The defendant continued back towards the house, which I only did that because you accused me of being methed up and smelled like meth. Which would, if they would have, like with my hand, with the doorbell camera video, with me coming out with my hands up, if it would have been a minute before that, you would have heard everything. You would have heard it all. You'd have heard me ask about the cop car camera. You'd have heard me ask about the body cameras. The body cameras, and he told me about the cop car cameras. And you would have heard me say I felt threatened, and then you would have heard Um, Eakins yell out, Corporal Eakins yell out, he's methed up, I smell meth, and then you would see me take 3 steps back. Um, the defendant continued back towards 102, but they don't say that I came out with my hands up. Um, and Trooper Shears Matson and I attempted to take him into custody. As soon as we placed the defendant's hands behind his back, the defendant forcibly pulled his arms away and attempted to run. We took the defendant to the ground, but he actively resisted by forcibly moving his arms out of our grasp. We use control techniques and physical compliance strikes to gain control of the defendant as he actively resisted. None of the control techniques or physical compliance strikes had any effect. It took all 3 of us to hold the defendant's arms behind his back for him to be placed in handcuffs. After the cuffs were successfully placed, he continued to kick around, which in the video you will see that I didn't. Like, see, here's the thing. Cops are trained. Everybody's a threat. Everybody's on something. I mean, look at the innocent people that they've killed. All because they were in a mental state. They didn't mean no, they were no harm. But they killed them. They killed them. Just like with me. That I could have died that. I got tasered 8 times. I'm just glad I have like somewhat of a good heart. It beats okay. But here I am. We've been through the habeas corpus hearing, and they dropped the 2 charges, and they leave these 2 charges on. Well, with this new attorney, we went and filed for all the video, went and filed for the radio communication. What do we get? We get the radio time. Not the communication, the radio time. I've been requesting a 911 call. I get told, well, they don't have it. But then when I was at my habeas corpus hearing, and I told I told my attorney this, I said, they said, we have it. I can enter as evidence. We continue this, and then, continue this hearing for another day. And Leo's like, just put it this way. They had a reason to be there. Well, I requested, so Madsen's car camera, Shear's car camera, the full doorbell camera, the 911 call, the video from the police station, because it would have showed that Officer Madsen came at me aggressive again. Now, they're gonna sit there and be like, "Oh, well, you have a past." Well, yes, I do, but my last charge was when I was 24 years old. Anything I've had ever since then was like a small amount of, drug paraphernalia and a small amount of marijuana. Because that's all I do. I smoke. I don't drink. I don't do no other drugs. But I'm, like, my last charge was when I was 24. But they're going to try to use that against me in trial. It's kind of funny. I'm the only one, like, it's me versus 4 cops and the guy that called 911 or the emergency number, which there is no record of it, so technically that should be thrown out. If there's no record of it, why is it still in here? I don't know. But here's the mistakes that were made. One, there was nothing to show that I was in the middle of committing a crime, that I committed a crime or was about to commit a crime. I mean, when you approached me, I was walking with my hands in my pockets, minding my own business. You asked me to take my hands out of my pockets, I did. So I'm complying with you this whole time. I'm even complying as so much as to walking to you after you left me to have this conversation. Why, like, okay, what did I do wrong? Like, why am I being detained? And it's kind of funny that on the police call, it states that um, the non-emergency call was made at like 8:22. By 8:25, two cops were on scene. Now Latrobe and Greensburg they're not like they're about 10 minutes away, 15. And I'm sorry, whenever I've called cops before, it take them like an hour to get here. You know what I'm saying? So that goes along my ways of thinking like I was being followed that night. Like I told the guy, they're after me. Like I mean I know I have really bad paranoia, but I mean when like I can say like you just know when you have that feeling, gut feeling, you know. And like I said, it's kind of funny that all three officers were there within 5 minutes. So there's goes again. What call like were you at? What was the call before you came to me? What was that? Was it a violent one? And like you didn't get to beat anybody up, and you're still mad, and then you took it out on me. And another thing is there's three officers involved, but I only have two reports. Officer Shears doesn't have a police report. Now, there's a difference between resisting arrest and there's a difference between defending, like protecting yourself. On the ground, you can clearly see I was not resisting. Yes, I moved my arm, but I mean, I'm being choked. I was being tasered. Like there's two reasons why I moved my arm. Other than that, you had control over me the whole time. I'm on my hands and knees and I'm on my back. You had control, but no, you chose to go above and beyond and continue beating me. For what purpose? I don't know. But to me, it's just kind of fishy. And I hope this video gets out to the right people because this is just wrong. Not only for me, but there's a lot of people that go through this and they don't have the means or they're in jail waiting for, they can't get bonded out and they end up, well, I'm going to take a plea because I can get out. Let me tell you, do not take a plea. If you feel that you did not do nothing, fight that. If you feel your public defender is not misrepresentation and bring up your concerns on what he's misrepresentation you on. Like with me, he should have gotten all of the information that was requested or put in for it. He didn't. He didn't do nothing. And then they only come at me one time with an offer. Well, if you plead guilty to resisting arrest, we'll drop the aggravated assault, the public drunkenness, and the disorderly conduct engaging in fighting. Now, the only disorderly conduct I had that night on my charge paper was disorderly conduct engaging in fighting, the resisting arrest. I actively fought with Jacob Shears. Well, if it's established that I didn't fight, then how did I have resisting arrest when I didn't fight with any cops? I mean, you have it in there. I'm fighting with Jacob Shears. So if that charge is dropped that I didn't fight with him, plus the fact that there's just so much evidence missing that would help me out of my case to prove that I didn't do anything, but that yet they failed to provide it. And then I'm supposed to go to trial against what, 4 cops, and then the guy that's supposed to be called 911 on me. And it's going to be their word against mine. And I can't really talk, but I'm hoping this attorney's like, listen, like the evidence that would prove that he didn't do this just isn't there. Why would it not be there if this is an ongoing case? That would be my question. Why would you get rid of stuff that is if it's an ongoing case? It would help the case out. Well, it would help me out, but not them, so they're going to get rid of it. Like, you like like I said, I don't want nobody to feel sorry for me. I built myself the way I am. I'm a strong-minded person, you know. But then you look at it like, you know, the mental issues that I have. You know, I mean, you figure the loneliness, the growing up without a family, all the all the all the abuse that I went through. Plus, on top of it, it's in the family. It runs in the family. Paranoia, schizophrenia, bipolar, manic depression. All three of us kids have it. Bob has it. But yet, when I told them where I was going, they didn't believe me. Either that, or they just didn't care. Like I mean, no, I'm sure there is people out there that know how things feel, but to the people that don't know, like it it's just it's it's just wrong. You know, I mean, I'm trying to go help myself because I felt like committing suicide. I was trying to help myself, and it wasn't my intentions to have an interaction with you guys. And they're with intent. Everyone with intent. And no, that was not my intentions. My intentions was I parked the car and I was walking because I didn't feel safe driving. But I want to have I'd like to just, and this is the screwovers. So when I was 13, when I was molested by Jack Andre, it was turned into Lou Lon Osterling, and well then it was never investigated or anything like that. So you only have a 2-year window to file a lawsuit or file a complaint or press charges. Well, I was 13, so I would have been 15 when I was able, but I'm still juvenile and I'm under CYS. So CYS should have filled that out, but they didn't because they covered it up. It's kind of funny. In '89, he resigned from being a Butler Township cop. He was no longer Big Brother. He was no longer Big Brother, but yet he didn't do it. Huh? That's kind of funny. Like I keep myself away from people because I know I have issues, and I know I'm like a tick. I know that I just you know if there's a feeling of threat, I get real defensive, and I'm afraid of blacking out and not knowing what I do. So I do not go around people. I don't. I have my service dog, and the sad thing is I just got approved for Social Security in like July of 2022 for mental health. And the whole time I'm laying there, I'm telling the cops, everything that happened. I was molested for 6 years by my real parents. Like I was beat by my adopted parents. I was molested by a big brother. I've been in and out. I have, oh, I'm not proud of it, but it did happen. I have from the age of 10 to the age of 30. I have over 20 years of institution. Not by my choice. It wasn't like, you figure I was homeless. You try to eat. Well, you have to pay for it. Well, I don't know that. I'm just trying to eat. I don't have any money. I'm homeless. I know that. Nobody knows what's going on, right? But but you get retail theft for stealing food, or I had same clothes on, same shoes on, blisters on my feet for 5 days, and so I walk in and change clothes. Well, that's stealing. There's stuff like that. And then there's stuff that I was accused of that I didn't do, but yet I sat in jail. I sat in the county jail for so long that when you came to me and was like, well, if you plead guilty to this, we'll give you time served and we'll let you out today. The only thing I know is you're letting me out today. Okay, I want out. You know, not realizing that that's staying on my record, and not realizing that I didn't do it, and now it looks like I did it. But this government, if you want to call them, needs a really good thorough looking at, because it's just sad what it's just sad what like the victims, and I'm talking the victims of abuse, what you go through, and nobody listens to you. That's why I get agitated when I have to talk to somebody, because I'm like, you're not listening anyways. Like that's my mind thought. That's my mindset. Like, you're not listening. And the sad thing is they get away with it. Why? Because they hide behind that badge. They think, oh, I have a badge. You're going to listen to what I say, even if you didn't do nothing. I told you to give my license. I told you to give me your license. You're not going to give it to me? Well, hey, guess what? I'm sorry, but, like, I thought you guys were there to protect and serve, and I mean, like, when I explained to you where I was going, you, I like, why would you offer me a ride home and not to the hospital where I was going? You know, like, growing up, I just wanted to die, because you're sitting there, and if you like, something's happening to you, and you're voicing it, but yet nothing's being done and nobody believes you. So that's why I get defensive, because every encounter I ever had, nobody believed me. Nobody believed me that I was getting beat. Nobody believed me. I mean, I had welts, literally I couldn't sit. I used to remember trying to figure stuff to put on my back, to protect it, to like pad it. I was like a phone book, like. But listen, the anger from Dan and Diane was unbearable. Like, it was like, why did you even adopt us? But they made sure to keep me, my brother, and my sister separate. And like I said, you know, like there's a point where it's like, is it me or is it the system? You know, and you sit there and you look at it and you're like, wow, it's the system. And I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but one person can only take so much. And I vent, I talk about my stuff, my anger issues. I talk because if I let it build up, it would take the littlest thing to upset me. To, you know, because I, I just growing up, you got tired of people not listening to you, so you turn into a just an anger ball because you're trying to figure out why you're trying to put together why am I getting sent away? I'm getting beat, but yet I'm the one that's getting sent away. I got molested, but yet I was the one that got sent away. And then when I ask questions, well, those files are no longer available. Well, then, okay, Law and Oceaning. I found him on Facebook. I'm like, hey, how you doing? Long time no see. He's like, hey, how you been? But as soon as I brought up about Jack, not one response back because they know it was bullcrap. Like, there's times where, I mean, like, it just feels that it just, I don't know, it's just like it's you against the world, you know? And then you look at the world and look everything that's going on, you know? And they say, oh, you know, the brave home of the brave, or the you know, United States of America, home of the free and something of the brave or whatever. You are not free in this state. You're in this country. You're not unless you got money, you know, unless like you know, like, unless you come from a good family. But yet there's still people who come from a good family that are serial killers, that are serial rapists, that are pedophiles, that are whatever, and they come from being yelled at. All they did was get yelled at. Look at Dahmer, look at Gracie, look at Manson. They got yelled at. Their parents were alcoholics. And look at them, they turned out serial killers. And then you have me, who's like fighting. I'm not really fighting. I'm done with that. But who made it a point not to be like what I was brought up around. I fought never to be violent because I know how it feels. So I would never want that on somebody else. Unless you come and lay hands on me, that's a different story. But I do. I have to tell people, hey, you get the first punch, but you better make sure it counts. Because if not, I can't be responsible. And usually I don't. I mean, I'm not. I don't get in. I as an adult, like ever since I've been out, I haven't been in any fights. You know, like I'm not a violent person, but it's sad because in a way, you know, like I never healed from the stuff that happened when I was a kid. because I always had to. It was like I was always in fast lane, you know. And now that I'm older, it's harder to heal because I have 48 years of self survival built inside of me because I had to fend for myself. So, am I a hyper person? Yes. Is there stuff that'll make me calm? Yes. But I don't want to depend on a pill where you take this, but then you have a side effect. You have to take this, and then when you take this pill, this has another side effect, which is actually worse for your health. Make it worse. And then they say, well, retrain your brain. How do you do that? I don't know how to do that. Ain't like you just jumpstart it. My brain's built 48 years. Like, I'm just praying that, like, and I do, I believe in God. I do believe in God. I just, I would say I just feel I feel left down. Like I felt left down because, of everything that I went through. And it was like, why'd you let it happen? But as they say, everything happens for a reason. But I mean, this is continue and continue and continue. But I mean, I do. I'm putting faith in God. I mean, I'm still here. I haven't died. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it to make it past 30. I didn't. But I'm here. I'm almost 50 years old. You know, and I have my dog and I have my daughter. You know, like sometimes I sit there and I'm like, what am I gonna do when I lose my dog? Because for 11 years, she's been there. She's been my friend. She's never left me. She's never lied to me. She's just unconditional love. And I've never had that. I've never had love. I don't have any feelings. I don't. I care less. I have common sense. I know if I go over and punch that guy in the face, I'm going to get charged. So I don't. I know if I have an interaction with the cops, I'm going to get charged. So I avoid cops. If I have to talk to them, I try to make it brief. I don't go out and break the laws. If you're gonna sit there and say, well, you did here, but yeah, look at the circumstances. You know, I was out on the streets with $100 to start my life. Like $100 in a backpack of a few pairs of boxers, 2 pairs of pants, and a couple shirts. Like sometimes my depression gets so bad that I just want to break down and cry, but I don't because then that's just a sign of weakness. And then there's those times where I just want to flip out. I just want to just 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 be heard. But then again, I sit there and I'm like, I can't do that because that that isn't who I am. I'm not. I'm not, I don't. I might talk hyper. I might talk fast. But I'm. Do I have a lot of rage in me? Oh my God, yes. If you would see me on the streets, you would never know. You would never know. But if you catch me one on one and you ask me questions, you'll see me go from 0 to 1,000 within seconds, just because it feels like it. And I know I can't be living off of this, but it's just so what I'm used to going through, you know, all the time, getting asked questions, getting asked this, getting asked that. And I mean, I'm to the point in my life, I just want to be left alone, you know? And I even told the cops that night. I said, I just want to be left alone with my dog, you know? But what's sad is I'm going to trial on these charges, and I'm still trying to fight to get the rest of the evidence. I mean, if there's anybody out there that can help and kind of knows anything about this, that that will take the time to listen to this, please, like, in a comment, please leave a comment. Or leave a comment, I'll respond back and give you my number or my email address. But I just need help to understand, you know, like, and also I would like to reach out, and anybody that is going through problems, is going through issues, mental issues, please feel free to subscribe to me. I will open. I have a a podcast that I started. I would like to start that back up because I would like to get more acknowledgement. Like, my goal is to try to help as many people as I can. I know I'm not no saint or anything like that. But if I can at least help one person, and I can save one person's life, that's all I need. Because nobody deserves to go through trauma. I don't care if you're a woman who's gotten raped. I don't care if you're a guy who got molested. I don't care if you're a kid that got beat. Nobody deserves that. People that have not gone through trauma do not understand how it affects a person's life. A person can be raped one time and affects them the rest of their life. They might work through some things, but mentally, you're scarred. You are. My original plan was I had a lawsuit going for the Big Brother program. And the money that I was going to get from that, I was going to, because being that they're closing all these malls down, I was going to open up a facility for troubled kids, have a section with supervisors that actually had trauma, and that understand what trauma is, how to approach, stuff like that. Because I would rather have someone approach me that understood what I was going through, not by book text, but understanding and explain to me how they got over that hump, how they got over that feelings, I mean, you never get over it, but how you moved on with your life. You know, like, I'm kind of stuck. I'm stuck in one spot because I'm still trying to figure out what I did wrong my whole life. But see, people don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear your problems. They don't want to hear anything. You know, you're just one person. You're just another notch on the page, and you get swept underneath the rug. But then, with people that have been traumatized, and they do end up flipping out, well then, oh my God, he's such a violent person. Oh my God, look at this. Oh my God. Well, yeah. Do you see this? Like, look what he went through. You know, like I mean, there's a difference between doing something, and there's a difference between having a thought and then it releases that anger and then it's gone. There's a pretty big difference there. There's violent and non-violent, and I am far from violent unless provoked. But I don't go out looking for problems. I mean, I'm 48 years old. I have a bad back. I have bad knees. I've had a torn Achilles tendon. I had surgery. I broke my ankle. I broke my upper leg. Um, I had two rotator cuff surgeries. I have a bad sciatic nerve, and I have my L4 and L5 are bone on bone, or L5 and L6 are bone on bone. I have a degenerative spine. Like I'm in a lot of pain. I don't take pain pills. I don't take the pills. I work through it because I don't want something controlling my life. You know, and to the cops, when they have a run-in with somebody, you're automatically a criminal. There is no calming when they get to a situation. They get there, you're a criminal. I just would like more acknowledgement of people with mental health issues. Like that's why I wanted to open up that a facility. I don't. I mean, I get Social Security. I'm supposed to get seven something a month, but being as where I live, like it was an agreement between the lady I live with and me. She had an extra room. She's like, hey, you can stay here. Just take care of the dogs. You know, I do. That's what I do. Well, when I told them that, they took $314 off of me. But yet, you can be an illegal and get full Social Security. You can be a drug addict, get your full Social Security. You can be an alcoholic. They know you're an alcoholic, but yet you get your full Social Security. They know you're a drug addict. You get your full Social Security. But someone who is actually mental and that, okay, it would help, you don't get it all. That's how twisted the system is. And then you feel like flipping out, like just smacking someone. But then you're like, well, good would it do? Because you just be, it's you, me, the person who does it, who suffers. Because they have to go to jail. But yet, that person got so tired of just being effed over his or her whole life, and he just flipped. Like, and I mean, I'm far from that. I have a couple, like, like, I keep calm pretty good. I have my service dog. You know, I can't say what I like when I lose her. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I don't know how I'm gonna act because the only thing that ever meant anything to me in my life, and it's no longer there. The only thing that ever gave me a family is never there. And that depression and that that it's just that those thoughts will just race, and that's why I want to try to help people. I want to try to help people understand there's a better way of dealing with your problems than drinking, than doing drugs. You know, like you have to be mindset. You have to be strong in your mind because your mind is a very powerful thing. I know I'm saying that, and I'm still suffering with problems, but I I chose. I've done drugs. I've chose not to do drugs because one, I know how I feel when I'm on them, and I'm afraid I wouldn't stop until I wouldn't feel that anymore. So that's why I don't. I'm afraid. I don't. I want to die, but I don't want to die. You know, like I, like I said, I'm trying to figure out why I'm here. You know, I mean, in jail, I should have died. Living on the streets, you know, I should have died. You know, I could get, I mean, anything could happen. Did it? No. Am I thankful? Yes. But when reality sets in, when it actually sets in, you're like, oh my God. Like, wow. And then you're like, why am I still here? Why am I still fighting for? Nobody else cares. Why do I care? But see, you can't have that attitude. The reason you care is because nobody else cared. You know, like I'd like to somehow, and maybe I can get some input, but somehow try to find out how to open up these facilities. Just like with people like that are, okay, if you, like say you go to jail and you get out, you're trying to get clean, you're trying to do good, but you don't have anywhere to go, you don't have that second chance. I want to be that second chance. I want to be that person who tries to get help for people so they don't turn down that road. But if cops see you trying to do that, they're gonna be like, "Oh, what are you doing?" They're just negative. I do have a couple cop friends, you know, and I do know a couple cops that are okay. You know that I mean I've gone out when I drank, you know, we go out drinking or you know we go shoot horseshoes or you know we just go fishing. But to the cops that are badge protected, and what I mean badge protected, what I mean by that is you think because you have a badge that what you do has no consequences because you're underneath a, what's that word called? Oh, you have something immunity. You have full immunity or something like that, which I think is bullcrap. I think with all these lawsuits and that, with these cops getting rough and all that, why should I'm a taxpayer. Everybody pays taxes. Why should we have to pay for your consequences? This the state gets federal funding. So why do the taxpayer have people have to pay for police misconduct when you're paid by the co-op? I mean, you're paid by us. I don't go around saying that, but it's law. I mean, it's in black and white. But yet you over abuse your power and you get away with it and you keep on getting away with it. Like with these three cops, what if next time the person they do that to, they die? What then? Oh, just like with me, it was justified. What you did was justified. See, that whole thing needs to change, and I hope it does. But I'm gonna do another video. I'm done for now because I'm starting to get worked up again, and I don't I like staying calm because I already have too much on my plate going on, and I just you know I try to just always look forward, look for a happy ending, and I don't know, pretty soon maybe I'll get one. But I hope this reaches the right people. And Like, if you ever need to talk, hit me up on on a message or something, on comment or something, and I'll reach out. I'll do another video, and when I get my podcast going, I just want to help people, you know, because I never had that help. So that's it for now. I'm sorry it was so long, but I mean, stay tuned. There's gonna be other videos, but I just want to let people know not everybody is a bad person. They might have had a rough life. They might have done mistakes in their life, but they're not a bad person. You have to look at the whole picture, not just what you're hearing. So, but I appreciate anybody who's listening, and like I said, I'm always here if anybody needs to talk to. All right, I'll talk to everybody later.